Good evening. I'm Rebecca Highbottom, and this is the Red Lipstick Republic fake news broadcast, where we do our very best to bring you all the fake news, conspiracy theories, and rumors that we can scavenge. Basically, we are your geopolitical soap opera reporters. We are here for your entertainment, not to make you smarter. Now, who on earth would want that? Should you be inclined to come visit us again, please support us by clicking the like and subscribe button. As you know, your votes count through the click. So please, give us a thumbs up, will ya? All right, let's get to the broadcast. In last week's broadcast, we started talking, or we continued talking about health and how things are now starting to slowly creep out from underneath the things that haven't been quite tucked away or buttoned up or properly hidden. And there are a lot of people that are now really being taken more seriously than 3 years ago when they first started coming out, because right now there's evidence to prove all of their theories, all of their predictions, and it's no wonder. This is a science-based problem. And the scientists that are working on pulling this out are finding more and more things that they can now come and sound the alarm to us, the general public. But it is our responsibility as the general public to listen and discern who has an invested interest in hiding the truth, and if these whistleblowers, what is their motive? What risks do they have to take, and what is their ultimate motive to come out and ruin their careers and have them be just ripped apart in the media? We just went through a worldwide sickness that allegedly was so dangerous that we needed to take a treatment. Now, this treatment is always going to be in question until we figure out what the real truth is. Right now, we don't know. But before we find out, there's other things being thrown at us. But the World Economic Forum gets together, and whenever they get together, there's always interesting things to talk about. This year, at the World Economic Forum, there is a common thread. I'll let you guess. All right, I won't let you guess. It's health and diseases and treatments, possible treatments. So problem and then solution. They're giving us the problem and now they're telling us what the solution was, much like in the earlier health crisis. This first article is WEF calls secret meeting to prepare for disease X. Now, X is a very interesting letter. X is like Twitter. Twitter now went to X, disease X. They're expecting a disease. They don't know what it's called yet because they haven't really seen it yet. So they want to name it after they see it, kind of like a baby. So WEF calls for secretive meeting to prepare for disease X. How they know about disease X? I don't know. How do they know about disease X when they had no idea? They were completely blindsided at the last disease. They had no idea it was coming, even though they had a tabletop topic run through only weeks before it came out. Part of this article says, Klaus Schwab, the villain of today's era. The WEF and the so-called global elites are gathering together for a 5-day annual meeting at Davos from the 15th to the 19th. There it is. It was right in front of my face. One of the topics on the agenda has raised some eyeballs. Preparing for disease X was on the agenda. January 17th is when they will be having a discussion about it. However, the elites are planning, operative word planning, that's not a mistake, for disease X to result in 20 times more fatalities than the last health scare. Now, I guess my only question is, when I read these things, what they say and how they say it is very important. You need to pay attention to what they're saying. How are they preparing? How do they know there's going to be a disease X? That's what I want to know. Something interesting about people in power is that they also believe that the world is overpopulated. That overpopulated thing again is coming back. I'm telling you, health is the common thread, and then you can pile anything you want on that, because people will do everything for the safety of their health. If you threaten their health, they will do everything. If you promise them, it'll be all right if you just take this. It'll be all right if you only do this. It'll be all right if you stay inside for 2 years or 2 weeks or 3 months. It doesn't matter. They promised us in 2 weeks, but they really closed us close to a year. If a pandemic 20 times as deadly as the other pandemic happened, it would claim 140 million lives. Would global leaders mourn or secretly celebrate that the world's population was curbed, as they have been telling us they want to do? Mr. Billy Jean had a TED Talk that is still on YouTube, where he explicitly tells you that he is able to bring the population down by up to 15% through just the action of this kind of treatment through your arm. But now they are boasting that it could be 20 times more. WEF senior advisor, I might butcher this name, Yuval Harari, oh, he's a gem. One of Barack Obama's favorite authors and a frequent speaker at Davos, has raised the big political and economic question of the 21st century. The question, according to Harari, is what will we do with the useless people? Well, that's not nice. You know, we worry about such thing as, not using the correct pronoun. But when someone says, what are we going to do with all these useless people? That goes unnoticed, quite frankly. The next article, these are very short articles. The CCP, the Chinese Communist Party scientists created a deadly mutant virus, 100% fatal in labs. There's the answer, people. How do they know about disease X? I'll give you one chance to answer it. Oh, they're going to make it in these labs that we're not allowed to have, but other countries can. And they're subsidized by us, the taxpayer. The CCP, the military scientists, have created a deadly mutant coronavirus that was found to be 100% fatal in lab tests, according to reports. Shocking? I don't think so. According to the military scientists, the mutant virus strain was cloned from a pangolin virus. So I want to point out to you that when you're creating something in a lab, again, it's not natural. It is manipulated, orchestrated, and set to do a job. And they know what job it's going to do, so there is no question that it will be 100% fatal if that is the design aspect of the disease. It is a designer. It's a designer disease. That's what it is. It goes on. The researchers boasted that the virus proved to be 100% lethal to humanized mice in lab testing. Now, according to the Daily Mail, that scientists infected humanized mice with the GXP2V virus discovered in Pagnolis in 2017. So this virus is not new. This virus, they have been working on tweaking, making more and more lethal. I ask the question that you and all of us should be asking. To what end do we need these lethal diseases? Why is this legal in any capacity? This is biological warfare. And they're creating it openly now because it appears that they don't care that we know about it. This is scary, because if they don't care that we're talking about it, that's the bigger issue. So humanized mice, it goes on to explaining what humanized mice are. The mice had been humanized, meaning that they were engineered to express a protein found in people, with a goal being to assess how the virus might react in humans, the Mail reports. Okay, so check. We're making deadly viruses. Okay. Check. It's in humanized mice, meaning it's as close to being a human type replica to see how it would work in human. Why do we need this? To what end, I ask again? Every rodent that was infected with this virus died within 8 days. Let me see. Which the researchers described as surprisingly quick. So I guess if they release this, you have 7 days to put your affairs in order. This is no laughing matter. I do not take joy in poking fun at these articles. We have to laugh, or we will all get so depressed and we'll all fall apart and we'll feel like we don't have the power. I have one hope for humanity, and the hope is that by all the people out here, me included, I'm a nobody. If we all share this information, there is no way that they can do this to us. The team was also surprised to find high levels of viral load in the mice's brain and eyes, suggesting the virus, despite being related to the current one that we just had, multiplies and spreads through the bodies in a unique way. Now, let's just talk about spreading through the bodies. The current disease that we just went through, they told us, or we were made to believe, that whenever we were injected with the treatment, it would stay within our arms, because that's historically how these vaccines work. However, it was proven that in fact it doesn't stay in your arm, it travels all around your body. This is, I doubt, a shock to them. I doubt that if they're engineering something to do something, that it's shocking that it actually works. I think that just like the baffled doctors from last week's broadcast, they're just surprised for our sakes. The dumb children that are going to be getting this vaccine now, because I'm sure they're going to have a vaccine with it. Like now they're able to probably get a vaccine within 6 months. They probably already have the vaccine for this non-man-made disease X. So it's an interesting thing that everybody's choosing the letter X. Mr. Savior Musk also changed his new company from Twitter to X. I don't know. It's just X seems to be marking this spot everywhere. And you know, that's awesome. It's going into the eyes and the brain. So if you've ever watched any of those end of the world movies, isn't it interesting that any time that there is a pandemic happening, people always bleed out through their ears and their eyes? I'm not sure which came first, the movies or these designer diseases, and then they base the movies on these designer diseases, and now they're just discovering these diseases. Discovering, I use the word discovering loosely, if you know what I mean. Depends how fluent you are in sarcasm, you'll get what I'm putting down. However, it goes on to say, because they still don't know, right? The Mail reports that the researchers declare that the death of the lab mice underscores a spillover risk of GXP2V into humans. Isn't that the point of having humanized mice, to make sure that it works on humans? I don't think that that's a surprise. Professor Eggbright warns that a potential lack of safety protocols could lead to a lab leak, not unlike what happened with the other disease that we had, that also escaped from the virology lab in the, lab that wasn't supposed to exist in America but exists in on the other continent. It concludes by the study's findings compound concerns that disease X could bring back authoritarian pandemic era lockdown and restriction. And if you think that this isn't part of the plan, then, my friends, switch me off and go watch Barney or some other fantasy, because these are dots that are put in front of you, and they are so horrific that if you can't see them, then there is really no hope. But that's just my digression. Gain of function continues in China and most likely funded by your taxpayer dollars. Now, if you thought taxes are legal, well, they are if you need to have viruses coming out every so often. And they're coming more increasingly. I don't know if you're noticing, the viruses are starting to come out more and more, not less and less. So if the lockdowns work, why are we now going to be fearful of the next disease and the next disease? It's either the lockdowns worked and we got rid of it, or they don't work, and we're just going to keep having more and more. The deadly virus is known as GXP2V, very nice name, X, deadly X. Attacks the brains of mice that were engineered to reflect similar genetic makeup as people, which is really ironic, because if they don't want to release this onto people, why are they trying so hard to see how people's DNA would respond? According to the study of last week's Beijing report. It goes on to say later on in this article, disease X is not actually the name of the disease, but rather a placeholder name used by the World Health Organization to represent a hypothetical unknown pathogen that would potentially cause a future epidemic or pandemic. And perhaps by accident, it will be released. Pandemic treaty. Oh, a pandemic treaty. This is interesting. I wonder why we need a pandemic treaty. Oh, because there's all these diseases coming. And oh, because we had a disease that killed less people than right now after the treatment rolled out. But that's tinfoil hattery. Pandemic treaty. This is just an article that stated pandemic treaty. A world-renowned scientist has blown the whistle to warn the public that the World Economic Forum is plotting to unleash disease X. You don't say. In order to force governments to sign the World Health Organization Pandemic Treaty. Now, if you do not know about this, I can speak to it very limitedly, because most people that discuss it get deplatformed. But there is a treaty that they are trying to push on every single country, if they can manage it, that the WHO will be the sole decider of what we as people in all of these countries, whether it's America, whether it's Canada, England, it doesn't matter, they're trying to bring it everywhere, what the protocols will be, what the mandates will be, what the protocols will be, what the steps will be, and we, as alleged sovereign countries, will have nothing to say, and alleged sovereign citizens will have nothing to say. So if you like your freedom, stop buying a poppy and wake up, because a poppy won't save you. But waking up and stopping this from happening potentially will slow things down. Moving on. Experts are warning that disease X would be 20 times worse than the last disease, as we discussed in previous articles. The WEF annual meeting, starting this week, are giving center stage to the unelected health counterparts to warn about a non-existent virus that they claim could be 20 times worse than our last pandemic. The WHO Director General Tedros, who, by the way, is a very, very nasty man. Now, anybody that has been under his regime would call him a war criminal, but let's just leave it at he's a nasty man. He will be sharing the stage on January 17th, which has now passed, with WEF Executive Committee member Shyam Bishen, I might have botched that, probably did, at the forum titled Preparing for Disease X. So let's just review so far. They're testing disease X. They're anticipating disease X. Now they're preparing for disease X. I don't see a plan there at all. Doesn't seem that way. Now, the pharmaceutical giant Pfizer to make billions on treating heart failure pandemic. Again, problem, solution. Problem, solution. The article states, pharmacological giant Pfizer has just invested billions of dollars, that's a B, billions of dollars, into treatments for the looming heart failure pandemic. Now, how do they know that there's going to be a heart pandemic? The very same pharmaceutical company that provided and sold us the so-called vaccines is making a big bet on heart failure to the tune of billions of dollars. Moving on, this includes a major $6.7 billion cash acquisition of a pharmaceutical company called Arena, a firm specializing in developing treatments particularly for heart inflammation conditions like myocarditis and pericarditis. I don't know, but this seems a little too coinky-dinky. The company is expected to make tens of billions of dollars in profit from the spike in heart failure. Do you understand that there is such a thing as setting something up? You set up a situation. How many scams do we know of where someone does something to your vehicle, only for you, the unknowing victim, to get into your vehicle, drive on, and then all of a sudden you have a flat tire? That's your problem. Oh, and wouldn't you know it, a lovely gentleman just parks behind you that happened to notice that you have a flat tire, and that's when he moves in and you disappear, and it was all a coinky-dinky. It was not at all planned. No, these guys would never do that. These guys are trusted. All right, so we move on. So the company that caused the heart damage is now looking to profit from the heart damage. The news comes as scientists are now warning that the latest sickness variant could trigger heart failure pandemics. We discussed this in the last broadcast where I alluded to that, or some of the articles were already alluding to that. This is just a natural progression of us being able to swallow and be black-pilled by these people. There's nothing to see, move along. Health experts have warned that there is an increase in the chance of potential heart issues for those who catch this disease X, if you survive it. Scientists are also claiming that new strains are responsible for the spike in deadly heart failure that had started in 2021. Coincidence? I don't think so. Countries include the US, UK, China, India have all suffered soaring heart failure cases in recent weeks and months. Japan's top research institute, RECON, has now issued a warning in a new report. The report states that the ACE2 receptors, which the sickness clings in within human cells, are very common in the heart. So if you got the sickness, it's very possible that you have these receptors already ready to get rumbled in your heart. This means, this means many people who catch the virus may suffer from reduced cardio function, scientists claim. This entire report that they're reporting on fails to, however, note that the spike in the heart failure is almost exclusive amongst the people who were treated. So there is lots of evidence to show that this was a 1-2 sort of attack. The first attack is the sickness. The second attack is mandating the treatment. And now the fallout is bringing with it lots and lots of profit for these so-called friends of ours that are pharmaceutical saviors. Final and last article to showcase some of the direction that we may be going. Problem, solution, problem, solution. Oh, and let's not forget profit. P. Iser invests billions in treatment for the coming heart failure. So there's a million of, not a million, I'm exaggerating. There's many of these articles. I just wanted to pull out two to show you that this is being discussed and we must pay attention. If only just for our own education. Miss Iser, P. Iser, is investing billions of dollars in treatment to prepare for looming heart failure pandemic. If they don't know the cause of the disease, how is it that they are preparing for it? That is the question I have. The pharmacological, let's try that again. The pharmacological giant recently acquired several companies. Again, these people are investing billions of dollars into a alleged disease that's coming, an alleged heart failure. How do they know that we're all going to be suffering from heart failure? I'll leave that to you to ponder. In this article, the one thing that I thought was quite lovely that they pointed out is this company, P. Iser, is expecting to be capitalizing on a huge spike in heart failure as sales of the treatment has now basically dried up. They're looking for their next profit. These companies are looking for their next profit margin. They've created a problem, gave us a solution, meaning we had the sickness. They gave us the solution, the treatment, as we discussed. And now that treatment, because that treatment was designed in a lab, there's no question in that. Supposedly it took a year. There's no question in that the treatment was designed by man. Now, if we take that treatment solution and it is geared so that it creates yet another problem because people are waking up to this problem now, guess what? They give us yet another solution and they capitalize on that because the amount of people that are getting the treatment has almost dried up. And they're already accounting for that. This is a business. You and I are the business model. We are the focal point for them to enrich themselves. It's all about profit and reducing the amount of people on the planet. Now, if you don't want to look at that, I understand. It's not a very comfortable thing to look at. But life is not about necessarily comfort. I know that in the West, we have been taught to play, be comfortable, have time, leisure, make things easier, more convenient. But unfortunately, that has allowed us to become indifferent to truth. We are more inclined to worry about what our pets are eating than what these elites are putting in our body. We are more inclined to go and stand up for the rights of transgender people, which I believe they need to have rights, but not more rights than anyone else. And yet we do not want to participate in just a simple question, just to question what's happening. And that is scary, because there's nothing scarier than a stupid population. There's nothing scarier than someone that is in denial, because the fact is you don't need to believe that something bad is happening if something bad is happening. You will feel that bad thing eventually if it's a fact. And unfortunately, the facts are in, the science is done, and there is so much to show that something is happening in our world that is happening to us all. And we must take off the comfort blanket and we must dive right into the uncomfortable truth and just consider it. And once we do that, we will make better decisions, because open eyes allow you to see your situation clearly. If you look away and you don't want to look at the big bad wolf, you won't know when he bites you, but you'll feel it when he does. With that, I thank you very much for joining me tonight. I hope this has been helpful. Please leave me some comments below letting me know what you would like me to cover, in what direction you would like me to take this broadcast in. I'm open for suggestions, and I appreciate your time. Thank you, and have a good night.